So let me just get this straight. You can't take a bag full of cash on tape from an undercover agent. You can't base CDC medical policy on a nut job's interpretation of something maybe Miss Cleo said once. You can't break the law, i.e. the Constitution, and call yourself a crime fighter. You can't strong arm a company into silencing a vocal opponent? Well, pretty soon, you'll be telling me you can't indict a former FBI director just because he's disturbingly tall.
I like big books and I cannot lie. You other brothers can't deny. Now when a girl walks in with an itty bitty waist and a round thing in your face, you get
I'm sick. Hang on, I'm sick. President Suge Knight. Oh, sometimes he just plays too much. Welcome to the Comparison Guy podcast. Listen on Apple Podcasts and Spotify for listening. Go to YouTube for looking at. Now listen to me. First of all, I'm struggling a little bit more than I thought I was going to be with the voice. I'm a little bit under the weather. Please forgive me. I didn't know it was going to be this tough. I might have to cancel this episode. Probably got the razor blade COVID. But I don't care. I'm going to go around. I'm going to keep coughing. I'm not going to stay. You can't keep me in my house. But I love the support. Please keep it coming. Please keep sharing. But I think going forward, I will put the episode on YouTube just with the images to clarify what I'm talking about or give context to what I'm talking about or to fact check myself. I put stuff up there. I like to put stuff up there so you can fact check me in real time based on what I'm saying. The video just takes forever. And it delays me sometimes from doing an episode because I say, well, I got to do the video to go with the episode. So going forward, you can listen, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and maybe jump on YouTube later just to take a look at something I mentioned that you may want to see, which please stay tuned. I do have something very important at the end of the show that I want to put up, that I want to talk about, that I try and do on a regular basis to honor the people that we should be honoring. So please stay tuned for that, and please check that on YouTube if you just listen on the other platforms, okay? So yeah, a lot of news. Tom Homan, Trump's border czar, is on tape, apparently, accepting $50,000 in cash in exchange for getting people government immigration contracts. Now, at the time, he had a consulting business that helped people win government contracts. But usually, you don't get paid in cash, in a bag, at a restaurant, I think. So that's in the news. Barely, to me, really big news. I mean, they're talking about it, but not really big news. We got the looming government shutdown. Oh, what's this, a rerun Comparison Guy? Didn't we just have a shutdown? Yeah, we just had a looming government shutdown. We're in the middle of another looming government shutdown. We can make it a couple of months without a looming government shutdown. This one, they're going to fight it out over the Medicaid cuts. I don't know. I don't know. I don't care. We've got Israel. They've started their, I guess you would call it, takeover of the Gaza Strip. We got that going on. We got President Can't Get Right. He thinks the UN sabotaged him. He went over there to the UN and he had to walk some steps and his teleprompter didn't work. And so he thinks the United Nations sabotaged him. So we got that. We got Jimmy Kimmel off the air. We got Jimmy Kimmel back on the air. And most people across the political spectrum that I heard anyway, they got it. They got it. Republican, Democrat, the government has no place in silencing speech they don't like. End of story. It's done. He's back on the air. He's not back on the air in all the markets. He's back on in about 65% of the markets that it used to be on. And so that's a shame. But you know what? Just bear with me here. Trump is crazy. We all know that. But let's not be crazy with him. Let's remember Jimmy Kimmel, Colbert, Fallon, John Oliver. They have writers. They have a ton of writers. I think their shows, they have like 20 writers, I believe, on those shows. And the writers write the jokes for those monologues. I'm sure the host contributes to it, but the writers write the jokes for the monologue. The host delivers the monologue. That's the way it works. And the writers write the jokes that are appealing to the audience. the audience that tunes into those shows, which just happens to be more of a liberal audience. And they're fine with that because if it gets ratings, that's what they'll present. That's the jokes that they'll tell. And I'm not saying that the host of the show's political beliefs are different than what they present on their show. What I'm saying is, if it wasn't working, they would do something else. If telling jokes about Donald Trump every single night was not getting them some kind of ratings, because TV ratings for everyone are down. They're not great. They get an average rating on their show, and then people go and watch and stream on YouTube or somewhere else later. But if they weren't getting any kind of ratings whatsoever telling the jokes about Trump, they talk about something else. It's as simple as that. Late night TV is not a political movement. It's about ratings. That's all. It's not a political movement. If anything, Donald Trump makes late night TV a political movement by obsessing over what they say. I'm consistent here. I criticize the Democrats when they obsess over some crazy statement from Donald Trump, let's say. I'm changing the Department of Defense to the Department of War. Okay. So, I don't care. Somebody will change it back. He could change the Department of Energy to the Department of Big Dick Energy, for all I care. He could change the Department of Agriculture to the Department of Kicking Dirt. I don't care. I don't care. At least not to obsess over, to spend a whole lot of time talking about. I don't care. The more people obsess over stuff, the more it becomes a big deal. So back to the late night guys. Excuse me. And yeah, it's all guys, huh? You know, I miss Samantha Bee. Anybody remember Samantha Bee? Man, she was funny. I miss her. She was in late night. But as I say, I believe the late night guys are sincere in their concern for the country and sincere in their dislike of Donald Trump. I don't think they're voting for Trump in elections and then coming on their TV shows and bashing him. So I at least give them credit for that, because we do know there have been some people outed for praising Donald Trump on TV and then talking about him like a dog behind the scenes. Now, I see you, Tucker Carlson. That being said, my one criticism, what got Jimmy Kimmel temporarily fired from his show was what a lot of people do and I don't like. A lot of people in his position do. Making a declarative statement that's their opinion as if it's a fact. Now, I'm assuming that wasn't no comedy writers. That was him. He stood on his show and he made a declarative statement that Tyler Robinson, the man who shot Charlie Kirk, was MAGA. That's what he said. Now, where's he getting that from? Why is he saying that? Why does he feel the need to say that? So that I'm not a fan of. I'm not a fan of when entertainers use their platform to basically give their opinions as if they're fact, to influence and sway people so much with their opinions, particularly not in that forum. It's like if I tune into Dancing with the Stars, I'm tuning into Dancing with the Stars to see D-list celebrities stumble around a ballroom dance floor. I'm not tuning in to see Carrie Ann and Abba stand up and say, Tyler Robinson was MAGA. I'm not tuning in for that. Just judge the dancing, Carrie Ann. So I would say, just tell the jokes, Jimmy. That's just my humble opinion. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who would disagree with that. And now that's fine. That's fine, isn't it? That's what this podcast is all about. That's what I think every podcast should be about. But it sure ain't. It sure ain't about agreement and disagreement. Seems like it's got to be about 100% total agreement. You say something I disagree with, I'm turning it off. But that's not necessary. Because people you disagree with on politics are not necessarily your enemy. They're your political opponent. They're not your enemy. They're your political opponent. Don't make them out to be more than that by calling them pedophiles or communists or Nazis or the Gestapo or threats to democracy or enemies of the people or fascists or even democratic socialist. That moniker is being turned into something sinister now. Ooh, democratic socialist. You're telling me we can't disagree in this country without making our political opponents out to be the worst people in history? if the past couple of weeks has taught me anything, it's taught me that Jesus would not do very well on social media. If Jesus walked the earth today, he'd be just like me. No followers on Twitter. No views on YouTube. Jesus would not do well on social media. People would be like, Jesus, he's too centrist. Jesus, he's too accommodating, too extremist. You can't fight extremism with weakness, Jesus. You know who would do very well on social media? Oh, yeah, the devil. The devil would do well on social media. You'd get an alert on your phone and call your friend. Did you just like and retweet the devil? And they would say, hey, listen, I don't agree with all the narcissism and the greed and the wrath and the envy and the lust and the gluttony and the sloth, but the devil is saying a lot of stuff I'm thinking. Man, I do wish I had a bigger show with more listeners just so I could get more comments. I would ask people questions, and I would hope if I had more listeners, I would get comments. Because I would ask people this question right now. Please tell me, given the recent events in the country, what, if anything, do you plan to change and how you interact with people you disagree with politically? Can I repeat that? Given the recent events in the country, what, if anything, would you change and how you interact with people you disagree with politically? Yeah, I'm hearing a lot of the same old, we got to lower the temperature. We got to tone down the rhetoric. And I don't hear I hear we. We got to do this. We got to. Well, what about I? What do I got to do? Me? I'm going to make it a point to not compare the president of the United States to the 7 deadly sins going forward. But I'm also going to try and not use the word enemy. I've used that in the past when I talk strategy. Oh, you got to know your enemy. You got to exploit your enemy's weakness. But it's a simple change, a simple substitute. Opponent for enemy. Know your opponent. Know your opponent's weaknesses. It's simple, but I think it matters. I think that matters. So something like that. I'm sure I could think of more things I could change. I'm not going to stop calling stuff crazy. I'm not going to stop calling people nuts or dumb or disgrace because I calls them as I sees them. But I can do better. I can do a better show if I keep plugging along with this. I can be smarter about things and how I present it and how I talk. I can work on it. We should always try and become better communicators, whether you're doing a podcast or not, just for life in general. You should try and become a better communicator. So I can do that. I can make that change, but I don't know if it'll matter. In today's political climate in this country, I don't know if it'll matter. I could be the best communicator in the world. Nowadays, if people don't like what you're saying, they do not listen to what you were saying. After the Charlie Kirk shooting, I did an episode. It was a little late, but I do my best to get the episode out. But I did an episode after the Charlie Kirk shooting, and the last time I looked, that episode on YouTube had 6 views. I'm not embarrassed to tell you. I don't care. You can go look. It had 6 views. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 views. Now, I thought it was a pretty good, pretty unifying, pretty helpful episode. But I go, man, 6 views? Maybe I just suck at this. So I say, let me listen to this other person over here who I'm, familiar with. I know that they kind of sort of started podcasting around the same time I did. They do a political podcast. And I look, the episode they did after the Charlie Kirk shooting, 300,000 views on YouTube. 300,000 views. So I say, what the heck did the person say that I didn't say to get 300,000 views? And I go, oh, I see what she said. She said the shooter was MAGA. She said Republicans are to blame because of gun culture. She said Trump is about to invade Chicago. She actually used the word invade. Trump is going to invade Chicago. She said Donald Trump changed the Department of Defense to the Department of War, tying the whole he's going to invade Chicago in with his new Department of War. This is what she said. This is what this person said in his podcast. I'm not going to name names. It's not about that. It's not about that. What it's about to me is based on that episode that person did. I look and I see it got 3,000 comments. 3,000 comments to that episode. To her, to the host? A couple, but no. Most of the comments, 99%, were people fighting with each other. It's your side's fault. No, it's your side's fault. That's what that episode got. That's what that episode inspired. Were people just going at each other. Over whose fault it was. Over who should take the blame. Over how horrible your side is. No, how horrible the other side is. That's what that episode inspired. I'll take the 6 views. Thank you very much. I'll take the 6 views. I refuse to be part of the problem. If I can't be part of the solution because no one will listen, I sure ain't going to be part of the problem. In those comments, there were people arguing over the person who shot Gabby Giffords being a Trump supporter. Someone was listing all of these different instances of political violence, and someone said the person who shot Gabby Giffords was a Trump supporter. And of course, somebody responded back, Gabby Giffords was shot in 2011. And then everybody attacked that person and called him a troll. I'm not making this up. They attacked that person for pointing out, Gabby Giffords was shot in 2011. I don't know that you could call that person a Trump supporter. And I find myself saying, yeah. I mean, how far are we going to go back to blame stuff on Trump? Lee Harvey Oswald, the man who shot JFK, Trump supporter. John Wilkes Booth, the man who shot Abraham Lincoln, Trump supporter. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. But some people like wasting time with nonsense. Getting themselves all worked up from stuff that people say who are trying to get them all worked up. That's why they say it. They're trying to get them all worked up. And what do the people do? They get themselves all worked up. But really, what I think really people don't like to hear me say is after the Charlie Kirk shooting, after what happened to Melissa Hortman and her husband, after Corey Compatore was killed when the shooter tried to kill Trump at the rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, after the United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson was killed by Luigi Mangione, after 23 mostly Hispanic people were killed in El Paso at a Walmart, after Heather Heyer was killed at a Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville in 2017, after 10 black shoppers were killed at a grocery store in Buffalo by a man that etched racist slurs on the butt of his gun, after 49 people were killed at Pulse nightclub, a gay nightclub in Florida, after all this, the list goes on. Kid shot at school, kid shot at church. Not my fault. Not our fault. Don't blame us. Don't blame us. The immediate reaction after a shooting, a tragic shooting, is usually thoughts and prayers, thoughts and prayers. That's quickly changing to don't blame us, not our fault, not our side's fault. After the Pulse nightclub shooting, the father of the shooter was spotted at a Hillary Clinton rally in the audience. And so, of course, the right jumped all over that and said, look at that. The Pulse nightclub shooter's father is a Hillary Clinton supporter. Therefore, the Pulse nightclub shooter is a Hillary Clinton supporter, a Democrat. And, of course, the Democrats lost their minds. How in the heck can you say, because who somebody's father supports? And then Tyler Robinson, the man who shot Charlie Kirk, comes out, his father's MAGA, and immediately everyone says, I mean, it's exhausting. It's exhausting what's going on in the country right now. With the don't blame me. Don't blame us. It ain't our fault. I'm quite sure it's going on right now after the shooting at the ICE detention center in Texas. I'm sure it's going on right now. Don't blame us. Not our fault. That's a sick individual. It's the Republicans that won't fund mental health. It's the Republicans who love gun culture. I mean, after all, Texas has weak gun laws. Don't blame us. Don't blame us for our rhetoric on ICE. This is what I tell myself. Not so much that I suck, but this is what nobody wants to hear. This is what nobody wants to hear. It's all of our fault. We should all be ashamed of ourselves on this issue. Not on all issues. I think that's what happens is people think if they give in on one issue, it's like they're giving in on all issues. If you give in on one thing on Trump, you're giving in on everything on Trump. If you give in on the election wasn't stolen, then you're giving in on everything that liberals are saying. It's not the case. That's not the case. This political violence, I will be consistent. I've said in the past, leans more towards the right. That is what I've said. I've said when I talk to my Trump supporters, I say, look, we have to get past this understanding that most of the political violence that's taking place in the country is mostly coming from the right. That's what I said on this podcast maybe 2 years ago. Now I can say, the left, you're catching up. You're catching up. The left seems to be getting angrier and angrier, and that seems to be turning into more and more violence. It's all of our fault. We should all be taking responsibility for this, not being so quick to try and point the finger of blame elsewhere before we even know what the heck is going on. Yeah, the truth hurts. What does a root canal and the truth have in common? Yeah, sure, both hurt. No one wants either. But also, if you don't deal with both, it's only going to get worse. If you don't deal with the underlying cause of the problem, it's only going to get worse. That's the truth. We all know it. We just don't want to accept it. And we don't want to change what we know we have to change if we do accept it. This problem is only going to get worse if we all don't change. Not some people, not those people, not him. Everyone. Everyone has to change. If saying that gets me 6 views on YouTube, well, so be it. So be it. I'm like the Harriet Tubman of podcasting. I'm trying to free people's minds, one mind at a time. Is you coming or is you ain't? Did I just compare myself to Jesus and Harriet Tubman in this one episode? Oh well. I'm doing my best. I appreciate anyone who gives their time to listen, whether they agree or disagree, whether they will return, whether they think what I'm doing is helpful. I don't know. I don't know if it is or it isn't. I'm just convinced that what others are doing that gets hundreds of thousands of likes and followers and views, I'm convinced what they're doing, it's not helpful. Because I see what's going on around us. I see how things are just getting progressively worse and worse and worse. As that sort of thing gets more and more popular, things are getting progressively worse. So, I kind of put 2 and 2 together there. I don't think what a lot of people are doing that seems to be very popular out there right now is helpful. Am I helpful? I don't know. I'm trying. So on that note, bring us together with a little positivity, a little sadness, but at the same time, try and look at it as a positive to get this information out. This is the time where if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, where we are about 27, almost exactly 27 minutes into the show. Correction, about 23 minutes in. Sorry about that. Go to YouTube about 23 minutes in. You can flip over onto YouTube at some point and just kind of scroll to this point in the show if you want to see the images that I'm putting up. What I want to talk about is, like I said, I've been doing this since I started the podcast. I said I would make it a regular thing, and shame on me, I'm very late doing it this year. I wanted to do it at least twice a year, and then I said, I should do it 3 or 4 times a year. And what I'm talking about is honoring the people we need to remember, not just on a holiday, not just when something so tragic happens, it shows up in our news feeds. We should be honoring people like this all the time. September is National Suicide Prevention Month. So you can check out StopSoldierSuicide.org, www.stopsoldiersuicide.org. I'll put that page up so you can see it. And you can go there. You can make a donation if you would like. You can take a look. You can see the stats. 6,407 veteran suicides in 2022. 22 consecutive years with over 6,000 veteran suicides. 140,000 veterans have died by suicide since 2001. And once again, I'm not casting any dispersions on anybody else. But how in the heck can we go through the month of September? And shame on me for being late. But how can we go through the month of September, Suicide Prevention Month, and not talk about veteran suicides? And not do something. Try and reach out. Try and donate. Try and make a difference. So please check that website out. And once again, if you're able, make a donation. You can also go to www.vfw.org/find a post. I've talked about this many times, talk about it all the time. You can go, put that website in, and let's go to it. I'll bring it up. Hang on. And you can see, got the big button there up top. You can donate. You can just make a donation. But if you want to find a specific post, let's put in a zip code. I'm going to put in the zip code for Butler, Pennsylvania, just for the heck of it. And then it shows you where the VFW posts are within 10 miles. You can go a further distance, but I just put for 10 miles. And you see they have 3 VFW posts in the area. And you can see, look, dues amount, $28 on that one. Dues amount, $31. Dues amount, $30. Why should they pay dues? Why should our veterans pay dues to go to the VFW post? Donate money and say, listen, please put this towards the veterans' dues. Enough people donate enough money, no veteran has to pay dues to go to a VFW post. I mean, I don't know. Isn't that helpful? Wouldn't that make sense? Isn't that something that we should be spending our time doing and talking about and learning about? And then the last one, this one's tough. www.odmp.org. www.odmp.org. That is Officer Down Memorial Page. Talk about this one all the time. This website honors all fallen officers in law enforcement, not just police officers. They honor Border Patrol, FBI, Treasury agents, DEA, all law enforcement across the board. Once again, you see the button. You can donate while you're there, and you can just take a look. Shows you the line of duty deaths so far this year at 66. Shows you last year, last 5 years, all time. I can click on View All 2025 Fallen Officers, and you see it brings up each officer, tells you when their end of watch was, what the cause was, where they were from, obviously, and it gives you the total line of duty deaths, what happened. 31 from gunfire. 31 deaths so far this year from gunfire. 8 struck by vehicle. 5 vehicular assault. So the 8 struck by vehicle, I told you, I was talking to a police officer one time, and he was telling me it just happened twice in his department the week prior. Twice. Luckily, the guys weren't killed, but two times, 2 guys on the side of the road, had somebody pulled over, car came by, hit them. Happens all the time. So we've had 8 deaths struck by vehicle so far this year. I mean, you add them up. You got 31 gunfire, 8 struck by vehicle, 5 vehicular assault. That's 39. We've only had 39 weeks in the year. That's it. We're like at week 39 in the year. So we've had almost as many police officers or law enforcement officers die by gunfire as we've had weeks in the year. This might be something that people should know, that people should spend a little more time talking about. Now, I already looked at this preparing for this episode, but I kid you not, I have no reason to lie to you. I just randomly clicked on names and said, let me take a look at what this one's all about. And so the first one I clicked on was, I'm going to guess that's Jesus Vargas, 41 years of age. Deputy Sheriff Vargas was shot and killed while serving a warrant at Stella Link Road of Interstate 610. You can read what it says. It tells you the story. Deputy Vargas had served with the Brazoria County Sheriff's Office for 17 years. He also served with the United States Marshal Gulf Coast Violent Offenders Task Force. He is survived by his wife and 3 children. The next one I clicked on, I think, was Martin Shields. Once again, just randomly I was clicking. Deputy Sheriff Martin Shields was shot and killed while responding to a domestic call at 15,000 block of Midway Road in Terry. A female requested help in retrieving her belongings from a home. When Deputy Shields and another deputy arrived at the scene, a man inside the house fired at them. The suspect also shot his wife and another female trying to flee the home. When responding officers entered the home, the suspect was found with self-inflicted gunshot wounds. He had a lengthy criminal history, 7 felony arrests and 18 misdemeanor arrests with 0 convictions. 7 felony arrests, 18 misdemeanor arrests with 0 convictions. Deputy Shields is survived by his wife and daughter. Take a look at this one. Joseph Anthony Azcona was shot and killed while investigating illegal weapons possession at the corner of Carteret Street and Broadway in Newark. At 6:37 p.m., Sergeant Azcona and another officer arrived at the intersection, questioned the subject about possible weapons possession. The subject began firing on officers immediately, and both officers were struck while still in their vehicle. At least 18 shots were reported near the White Castle at the intersection. When responding officers arrived, they discovered Detective Azcona and the other officer both wounded. You scroll down, you see 5 juveniles were taken into custody. A 14-year-old who was injured was charged with weapons possession and murder. 14-year-old. The officer is survived by his mother, father, and 5 siblings. Crystal Rivera. Police officer Crystal Rivera was shot and killed during a confrontation with an armed subject. You read the story. It's terrible. Inadvertent gunfire, but terrible. The 2 suspects fled the scene but were apprehended shortly afterward. One of the men, a convicted felon, wanted for 6 outstanding warrants, was charged with armed violence, illegal possession of a firearm, possession of a controlled substance, and possession of a fraudulent identification card. The second suspect was on parole, was charged with firearm possession by a felon and drug possession. Officer Rivera had served the Chicago Police Department for 4 years. She is survived by her daughter. And maybe people heard, I don't know if it was national news, but I certainly heard, there were 3 officers all shot in Pennsylvania. I'll just click on one of them here. Let's click on Mark Edward Baker to get the story. Detective Mark Baker, Isaiah Emmenheiser, and Detective Sergeant Cody Becker were shot and killed, and another detective from the Northern York County Regional Police Department and Deputy Sheriff from York County Office were wounded while attempting to serve an arrest warrant at the 1800 block of Harr Road in North Cordes Township. You can read what it says. A man was wanted for stalking a female, hiding in the field near her house, wearing camouflage, carrying an AR-15, and using binoculars to watch her home. When detectives were unable to serve the warrant at the suspect's house, they went back to the home of the person he was stalking. At 2:08 p.m., detectives approached the house and realized the front door was unlocked. When they entered the home, they were met with gunfire. Detective Sergeant Becker and Detective Emmenheiser were ambushed while Detective Baker and another detective tried to find cover. They were fired upon multiple times. Detective Baker is survived by his wife, 4 children, his mother, and 2 grandchildren. And then, as I say, you scroll down. They also, it's so nice, they honor the canines, the police canines too. What we got here? We got Canine Preacher. What happened to poor Canine Preacher? Canine Preacher succumbed to gunshot wounds he received while pursuing a fleeing domestic suspect on Ranger Street in Maine. Law enforcement responded to a report of domestic situation and convinced the subject to talk to them outside of the home. As officers attempted to arrest the suspect, he pulled out a gun and fired at officers, striking an Aroostook County Sheriff deputy in the shoulder. The suspect was able to barricade himself in the home despite hours of negotiations. When the suspect attempted to escape, his vehicle was disabled, so he fled on foot. With Canine Preacher in pursuit, the suspect fired at Canine Preacher, hitting him in the abdomen. Canine Preacher was transported to an emergency veterinary hospital and survived surgery, but he passed away the following morning. I don't know. Call me crazy, but I want to know what I don't know. That's how you solve problems. By learning, by listening, by expanding your circle of influence. Not with finger pointing, not with tired, redundant talking points that aren't even true. The Jimmy Kimmel firing brought up the conversation about the First Amendment, freedom of speech, and inevitably, you will always hear someone say, the First Amendment has limits, freedom of speech has limits, you can't yell fire in a crowded movie theater. Yes, you can. I learned that a while ago. And yet we still have people who are lawyers. We have people who are legal scholars going on political TV saying, you can't yell fire in a crowded movie theater. Google it. Google it. Here it is. I'll put it up for you. Is it illegal to yell fire in a crowded movie theater? No, it's not. It depends on the circumstances, such as whether there's a real fire, whether your words cause a stampede or panic, or whether it can be classified as disorderly conduct. That's what it depends on. So, listen, you go to a lot of movie theaters that I know of, and you stand up and yell fire, you're likely to have somebody yell back to you, sit down, you idiot, there is no fire. But you stand up and yell, what the terrorists yell. I don't want to get in trouble. You know what they yell when they get ready to blow themselves up. You stand up and yell that, and you're not really a terrorist. You just think it's funny. Oh, there's a good chance you're going to cause a panic. And you could be arrested for that. So that has nothing to do with saying fire. It has to do with whether or not you cause a panic. That's maybe not a big deal to some people, but the fact that so many people just repeat that, you can't yell fire in a crowded movie theater. It's illegal to yell fire in a crowded movie theater, and therefore the First Amendment has limitations. And it's not even true. It's not even true. I want to know what I don't know. That's how I learn. I don't want to hear people just repeating the same talking points over and over again. I was just in a shopping center with a bunch of stores. There's a courtyard. It's like an outdoor shopping type thing. There's a bunch of stores with a courtyard, and people were shopping, and I was in a store when I guess their fire alarm must have malfunctioned. So all throughout the shopping center, you heard sirens, you saw flashing lights, and there was a recorded voice saying, "We are experiencing an emergency. Please make your way to the exits." And everyone just looked around like, "Oh, what the heck is that?" And some people walked to the front of the store, looked out the door, and then went back to shopping. There were people, I saw them. They were, I'm not on fire, and no one close to me is on fire. So I guess I'll just keep on shopping. And I'm saying it's a fire alarm, but really it was an emergency alarm. It was for an emergency, so it could have been for anything. Could have been an active shooter for all we knew. But no one panicked. For some reason, no one panicked. But I did what any sane, rational person would do in that situation. I grabbed as much merchandise as I could off the racks and ran out that store. What are they going to do? Arrest me for stealing? I'll tell them, "Hey, I thought it was a fire. I was trying to save your merchandise." I ain't perfect, and we don't have to be perfect, but we do got to be a whole lot better than we have been. Ooh, that's the show. Thanks for listening. Sorry about the sick voice.
Take my photo off the wall if it just won't sing for you. Cause all that's left is gone away and there's no.
I really didn't think it was going to be that bad. I appreciate you hanging in. Apple Podcasts, Spotify.
Oh, look what you've done. You've made a fool of everyone. Oh, well, it seems like such fun until you lose what you had won.
Don't be afraid to subscribe everywhere. Don't be afraid to follow me everywhere. Follow me on Spotify. Follow me on Apple. Follow me on YouTube. What the heck? Why not? Why not? What do you got? What better you got to do? Sometimes I might just throw a show up real quick on Spotify and Apple, and it won't go on YouTube for a couple of days. Come on, get it all. Get it all. Get it while it's hot. Come on. I really do appreciate you investing your time. Picked up a couple subscribers. I'm closing in on Mr. Beast on YouTube. I think I'm up to 62 subscribers. So thank you for that. Very, very, very much appreciated. I swear it is. Thanks, and I will see you next time.
Take my photo off the wall if it just won't sing for you. 'Cause all that's left is gone away, and there's